Are you one of those sick fuck princes who likes to shoot girls with arrows? Or am I gonna wake up tomorrow chained to a wall?
The spear with the boulder.
Yeah, okay.
What's up, Sunday fam? Welcome back to another episode of Watching Sundays. This week we're going to discuss episode 5 of The Magicians, A Day in the Life, or Life in a Day.
So good. This episode was by far my favorite out of the entire episode.
It was really good.
Entire season. Entire season, this has been my favorite episode.
It was a really great episode, actually. I thought it was like the nuance of the mosaic and the things that they were doing in this quest. It was emotional sometimes, and I was
that's why I was emotionally invested the most with this episode. You know, their adventure, it's the quest between Q and Eliot solving the mosaic. Really kind of reminded me of all the time loop movies that I really liked. You know, like Looper, even though it was such like a niche kind of movie that people liked or hated. Edge of Tomorrow, as well as The Butterfly Effect. Those kinds of movies are so good to me. For me, like personally, I think those movies were amazing. But they didn't do it in an over-the-top way. You know, it was so elegant. It was so beautiful.
It was very subtle in the way that they did it. Like, it was one of those things where, you know, it's a time loop, but it's not dealing with anything that heavy of a subject. It wasn't a heavy of a subject like, oh, he has to prevent a murder, and then he has to go back in time and relive that day. Or
it wasn't
like Groundhog Day or something.
You know, it wasn't complicated. It wasn't something that you really needed to think too hard about.
Yeah.
The storyline was fantastic, especially with how they tied it in with Jane Chatwin.
Yes.
You know, like how they were involved, or they were part of Fillory's history from the beginning, and it kind of answered some questions from season 1 and maybe even season 2 of the way they tied it in with Jane Chatwin's storyline with her time loop spell. Like, you kind of wondered what that was all about in season 1 and maybe even season 2, but like they totally answered it here.
It bridged the gap in a storyline that had a plot hole, and what you thought was a plot hole, but now in this episode it's kind of like, oh, it all makes sense. The greatest thing for me in this episode was the overarching theme of a mosaic that reveals the beauty of life.
Yeah.
And it didn't come down to them solving a mosaic or solving a puzzle. It literally came down to them living out the beauty of life. They had a family, he had a wife and a child, and I think they mentioned at some point that they had grandchildren too, and then, you know, it all just transpired to their death or to Eliot's death, and that was it. That was the beauty of life. They all went through their own life, and at the end of that, the mosaic revealed itself into the key, and then it went into Jane Chatwin's story, and I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, it was really heartfelt while I was watching this episode, and it really put a smile to my face, like the whole entire time. You know, there was other storylines part of the quest with other characters, but this one was just amazing. You know, as you said, the mosaic revealed itself after they go through this story of life. I don't know how many years they lived, but it must have been I don't know, like 100 years or something like that.
I don't know if it was 100.
Because the time in Fillory is different than the time in real world. Correct me if I'm wrong with that one.
I'm not sure on the specifics of that, but I do know that they lived long enough for Eliot to die, for them to have grandchildren,
for there to be generations.
Yeah, and you know, they originally approached the puzzle thinking it was going to take decades, and it literally did.
Yeah.
There was some other stuff that happened with Katie and Margot. Margot is seemingly dealing with all this, like, politics or the monarchy, and having to marry this kid because he was like this evil person that killed his own brother.
Yeah, it ended up being somebody that she was really attracted to, and then you know, the baby brother ends up decapitating Prince Charming.
Yes.
And then now she ends up marrying him instead.
But she was instrumental in their quest.
Yes. No.
Yeah, she so
Yes. No.
so Q wrote a letter to her in the past, and she had gotten
Yes.
that letter.
Yes. Absolutely.
And she said, "Hey, we need you to go to Jane. We need you to get this key." And apparently, that all transpired in a alternate timeline. And right before they were about to go through with the quest, she saves them. It's like, "Hey, I got the key."
That's right. That's right.
And so they didn't have to do that. But at the very end, they went to this peaches and plums basket and went through a whole deja vu. And I'm wondering how it's going to affect them going forward.
Yeah, that was what was so romantic about this episode for me. Is like they had no idea what was happening, or they had no idea before they bit into those peaches and plums, and then all of a sudden their memories kicked in and they kind of almost relived the past in like a split second. Other elements of this episode that almost kind of made it too serious of an episode is Katie's struggles with the death of Penny, and
I would have thought that she would have been happy to see that he wasn't really dead.
yeah, like I think
It was like a 180 for me.
I honestly think, like, I don't want her character to go down this rabbit hole of just self-pity and...
Or self-harm.
Self-harm, because she is definitely one of those characters that are super strong in this, in the Magicians, and I get annoyed when Q gets all, like, emotional and, you know, hamstrung by his feelings for Alice.
Which is what made this episode really good for Q, because he just like...
It's like he got over her, like,
yeah,
in a split second, and I was happy. It was like, yes, like, I don't want you to mope and fucking groan all over the place. And hopefully that makes him a stronger character, a more exciting character to follow the rest of the season.
And so now Katie is the one that needs to kind of let go of her past. So
yeah, it just feels like, you know, if they're gonna have one character like get over this depressive state, they involve another character to go into that hole, and it's too much of a seesaw battle for me. Like, I just want them all to just get over it, get on with the quest, make it more epic, make it more grand, more cursing, and just just go for it. You know,
Devil's Advocate. They kind of do that to keep the series grounded in its gritty real life problems theme. But you're right, you know, there comes a point in time where you're kind of just like, okay, let's get over it.
Let's
get on with the quest. And, you know, of course these people have problems, but we don't need to relive them in each season. I think the problems that they face in the quests that they're going to undergo is the problems that we're going to care about the most, not somebody relapsing into past problems.
Yeah, that's the hook. Like, as much as I'm interested in finding out whether Penny finds a body, or he gets back, or he stays in the astral plane. If it's gonna be awesome and exciting, then I'm for it. But if it's gonna be like this depressive like angle or storyline that keeps resurfacing throughout the rest of the season, then I'm probably just going to not pay too much attention to it.
Well, okay. One quick thing, my theory on Julia's powers was half right. I think I theorized...
I wouldn't say you were half right. I think you were all right, like
really?
Fully right. I mean, even
because
though you had
I had two possibilities. One, that it came from her child or unborn child with the trickster god, and then the other came from her shade. And she actually had that theory, like her number one theory. It came from extra sprinkles on top of the muffin. That was the shade that the goddess returned to her. But it turns out that the goddess actually put a seed, or the unborn child into her, but not necessarily the unborn child, just like the magic that was with
the essence of the seed, which is why she has some magic.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that meant that she was pregnant, because like she was showing her like, I don't want this.
Exactly.
So I don't know if it meant that she was pregnant, or she just had like a seed.
Yeah.
But in any case, I was right to some degree on that theory, and so there's that.
That was a good theory. Like I did not have any theories. Well, did I or did I not? I don't remember. But I think I originally thought that Julia has just this special essence that she just got touched by magic, and
Yeah.
you know, she's gone through the struggles of being a
Well,
hedge
she was
witch.
touched. She was touched.
Anyway, my question of the day is that would you accept a gift from a god for magic, even if it comes from a place of tragedy or trauma?
On the surface, if there was a world with no magic and I had known a world of magic,
Yeah.
I'd probably
Accept it?
want to have magic back.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I've never gone through that trauma, so I wouldn't be able to be like, hey, if I was in her shoes, I'd accept that seed, because it's like,
Yeah, that's a
we
good way to
don't
put it.
really know.
Within the show, I would deny that magic if it comes from a place of tragedy and focus on the quest of regaining magic.
Right. But at the same time,
Yeah, who am I to say
they
that?
went on the quest to
Yeah.
regain magic in the first place because Julia revealed that it still exists.
True.
You know, there's all these like plots and things and these storylines that arise from just one speck in the universe.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Interesting.
obviously, you know, it depends on what that trauma is. Obviously, to her, you know, having been violated, she doesn't want any part of this person
Exactly.
to be with her. But at the same time, if it was us and we had a different trauma, would we be able to overlook it in order to regain magic?
Ooh, why don't you guys let us know what you think?
Yeah, put it in the comment section below. Also, let us know what you thought of the episode. Did you like it? Did you think it was one of the best? I think for us, it ranks up there. I know you said that it was the best for you. What's
So I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5.
Oh, 5
This
out of 5
episode
on a
was
magic
the
meter.
was the best out of the entire season so far.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5 too.
Yes!
5
out of 5.
So let me preface this by saying I've given lesser episodes 4s, and so it would be really wrong for me to rate this anything less than a 5. And so there's
That's
that.
it. 5 out of 5.
Alright guys, thanks for watching this review of The Magicians, Episode 5, A Life in the Day. We'll speak to you guys next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell notification so you know when we post new videos. And we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.